Empower your business or digital agency with Bluehost, trusted by over 5 million WordPress users globally. Bluehost features top-to-bottom hosting optimizations designed specifically for WordPress, giving you 24/7 access to a team of experts for support, plus thousands of WordPress help articles. So if you want to streamline WordPress website creation with intuitive controls and premium support, choose Bluehost, powering over 2 million websites worldwide.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
Welcome to Dear Prudence. I'm your guest, Prudence Kristen Meinzer. I host a couple of other podcasts, including Buy the Book and How to Be Fine. Be sure to check those out if you love self-help books, hate self-help books, or want advice on how to be okay-ish rather than perfect. Today, we'll be answering questions about a spouse who constantly whines, a coworker who said something personally insulting, a competitive person who now has regrets, and a jilted lover looking for closure. Here to help me out today is Lucy Lopez. Lucy is one of the co-hosts of Slate's parenting podcast, Care and Feeding. Lucy, we are so excited to have you here today. For those who aren't familiar with your show, what's it about?
We're just a bunch of parents with very different opinions on parenting, navigating parenthood right alongside you, from how to handle social media when you have a kid, talking about marijuana use, are grades necessary? I always like to say it's like our show. It's like if you're white knuckling your way to drop off your kid at school, then our podcast is for you.
Now, before we get started, we'd like to ask you a question that we ask all of our guests. What is one piece of unsolicited advice that you would give to the world unprompted?
Just show everybody a little bit of grace. As a creative and as a mother and as a wife and as a caregiver to my mother, there's times where I feel like I don't feel the world owes anybody any kind of anything, but I feel that us as individuals should show each other grace. No matter what you're going through, like just show that person in your life or that stranger that you might bump into in the aisle at the grocery store some grace. You just never know what they're really going through. That's something my abuela taught me.
Anytime we can bring up grandmas. Yes, I love grandma advice.
Yeah, like my abuela siempre decía, tú nunca sabes lo que está pasando a alguien en la casa. You never know what someone is going through at home. Y siempre tengas eso en mente. Always have that in mind when, even when somebody comes at you with teeth and anger and volatile, just hold a little bit of space for them. Just a little.
Yeah. Oh, I love your grandma's advice. I also think that sometimes it's so easy to immediately jump to the worst conclusion. And sometimes it's not even that anybody was doing anything wrong. It's just that they didn't see you standing there and they accidentally bumped into you and they aren't out to destroy you and they don't hate you. Every once in a while, people just do things and it's not about us, right?
I agree. I completely agree. And my grandmother taught me that lesson very young in life. My father has PTSD from the war. And I remember she would just be like, just give him some space. He'll come around. I learned that at a very young age.
Oh. Such great advice. Thank you, Abuela.
I know.
Love that.
You're welcome.
I love it so much. Well, Lucy, we are going to tap into even more of your wisdom in a bit as we tackle some of these listener letters. But first, we have to take a very quick break. Stay with us, everyone.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today? Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called AutoQuote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies, so you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Empower your business or digital agency with Bluehost, trusted by over 5 million WordPress users globally. Bluehost features top-to-bottom hosting optimizations designed specifically for WordPress, giving you 24/7 access to a team of experts for support, plus thousands of WordPress help articles. So if you want to streamline WordPress website creation with intuitive controls and premium support, choose Bluehost, powering over 2 million websites worldwide.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Dear Prudence. I'm Kristen Meinzer, and I'm here with Lucy Lopez.
What's up?
And now it is time to get to our first letter of the day. This letter is titled Tea Without Sympathy.
My guy is loving, lovable, responsible, and kind. He also wants more sympathy than I can sincerely give, usually in self-created situations. He'll be sick for 2 weeks because he refuses to take medicine. He'll want pity for walking home in the rain from a friend's house while I've been playing with our toddler in that same rain. He'll stub his toe. He doesn't even want me to do anything. He just wants me to feel and express that I'm sorry for him. But I'm not. I can show him I care for him. I can make soup and offer to pick up Dayquil. I can happily play in the rainy park so that he can draft a magic deck, but I can't deliver at that level. He does his part and we've got a balanced household, but I'm better at giving the practical stuff. And what he really wants is not something I feel like I've got. Just saying, I'm sorry you're sick, let me know how I can help, doesn't cut it. He wants the workup our toddler gets when she runs into a table. I'd like to meet my partner's needs. Do I fake it?
Woo, girl.
Ooh, boy.
Girl.
Lucy, I love that you're here for this particular letter because my gut says this letter isn't just about the husband. In my opinion, I think it's also about the kid. And the reason I say that is, well, first of all, to our letter writer, I'm sorry, this sounds very frustrating. Having a whiny husband who's whining about problems of his own making sounds maddening. It sounds absolutely maddening. I will not take my medicine, but now I'm complaining that I got sick because I didn't take my medicine. That sounds maddening. All of this sounds really, really frustrating. And I'll just say up front, I am one of those people who likes to offer solutions as well. Like, I don't want to just hear the whining. I want to offer solutions. So I kind of am a little bit biased here because I'm sort of like the letter writer, I think. I'm like, I want to fix it. If it's a problem, let me fix it. But the reason I brought up the toddler here, and Lucy, maybe you noticed this too, there are several mentions of the toddler here, and it almost sounds like, according to the letter writer, the husband is almost in competition with the toddler. And so I have a couple of questions. The first one is, did your husband behave this way before the toddler? Was he already a whiner, somebody who spent, large quantities of time screwing up stuff and then complaining about it every single day? Was he that guy already? Or is this something that mostly has come on since this child has entered the picture? Because I think that tells us something if that's the case. Wouldn't you say so, Lucy?
I mean, it's plain as day. You always hear about these stories. Like, when like the aunties all get together on the couch and they talk about somebody's husband, and so-and-so's husband is madly jealous of that child. And you're like, what? How can a parent be jealous of a child? Oh, it is very common. And it also sounds like you're trying to find balance between how you would naturally react and your partner's need for like emotional sympathy. The obvious and in this situation is that clearly you're acknowledging his feelings, which is important. And I'm happy that that, acknowledging, it's something that you're already doing and that it's obviously important. He's just looking for you to physically react the way you would with your toddler. And that is impossible. Okay. It just sounds to me like he may even be, a little jealous of all the attention the baby is getting, as opposed to how you treat him. Right. So for so long in that relationship, maybe he felt he was the baby in the relationship, and all those things you're doing for the baby, you used to do for him. And now you're not doing it for him, or you're not babying him. You're not oh my God, is your toe okay? Oh my God, are you sick? Oh my God, let me cover your, oh honey, poor baby.
Yeah.
And that goes out the window as soon as you have a child. It is what it is, you know? And as far as you faking it, if you start faking now, my friend, it's going to be faking it till the end of that relationship or until you can't anymore. And the moment you stop, that problem will be too big for you to even handle it. Problem being you trying to like fix everything that he has an issue with. You got to be honest with your partner. If you guys aren't honest with each other, you need to sit your husband down and be like, Papa, what are you doing? Like, you stub your toe. Keep it moving. Here's a bottle of Bengay. Keep it moving. Like, I don't understand. You need to be straight up with your husband, with your partner. You need to let your partner know that he's behaving, in my opinion, a little childish. You know, if you're sick, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to give you as much as I can give you, but I'm not going to bend over backwards and do all the coddling that I do for the toddler in our life.
I'm not going to treat you like an 18-month-old. Not going to do it.
That's just wild.
Because you're not 18 months old.
No.
I'm guessing you're not 18 months old.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there just comes a point, and I get it, because when you're with this person for a long time, when you're with your partner, everything revolves around your partner. Everything does. You're sick. It's almost like oh, you're sick. Oh my God, let me be the best partner in the world. Let me go to Whole Foods and pick you up a homemade chicken soup and your favorite, brown sugar chocolate chip cookie and your favorite smoothie and here are your favorite shoes and let me get your pajamas all warm and cozy. And that happens. But once the baby is born, it's a wrap. I'm not saying you're going to totally ignore him either, but the coddling kind of like dwindles. Because that coddling now is reserved to somebody that actually really does need it, not a grown-ass man.
And on that note, I really do think that a real, maybe difficult conversation needs to happen here. Maybe it was the case that that's how you used to treat your husband. Maybe it used to be that you would go out at 2 a.m. to Whole Foods and pick up this thing and warm up the pajamas for the husband back in the day. Or maybe it's that you never did those things before and your husband has only become really whiny and needy since this baby came along. But either way, I think you need to clear the air and talk about it. If it's the case that you're not treating your husband like you used to, maybe you need to sit down and say, hey, I know this is something to adjust to. We're in a new phase of life now. I know that I'm not giving you all that babying I used to, and it just doesn't make sense right now because we're trying to keep this little tiny human alive. I'm still going to love you and nurture you in all the ways I can that make sense, but our attention needs to be split now. Alternatively, let's say you didn't used to baby your husband before, and now he's demanding all of this sympathy all the time. I think there's also a way to talk about that too. Like, for example, I know life can be exhausting, and I know that, we have all these extra pressures on us now, but I worry about you. I worry that when you're upset and I offer a bit of sympathy and try to offer some solutions, you tend to be very dismissive of me. And I'm worried, is this part of a bigger picture? Are you suffering from some sort of, depression or anxiety? Are you having a hard time adjusting to parenthood now? If so, it's normal. This is a huge life shift. Should we be seeing a therapist? Or is it the case that you just feel like there's more you need to vent about right now? And is there a way that we can work to contain that venting a little bit more? Maybe we can have an approach where I ask you, do you need to vent for 90 seconds or do you need a solution? That way we can decide from the get-go, right before you complain, what I can give you so that you can be satisfied.
You brought up such a great point. She says in the beginning of this letter that her husband is loving and lovable and responsible and kind. And could she be confusing sympathy with attention? Because she says he also wants more sympathy than I can sincerely give. I don't know if it's sympathy. I think he just wants more attention. Could that be it?
It could be. Yeah. And if that's the case, again, that's part of this bigger conversation. It may be the case that he is trying to be a negative Nancy all the time. It may just be the case of, I don't really know how to ask for attention right now. And I've just reverted to using complaints as the way to try and get close to you. And can we come up with new ways to make sure that we're having intimacy and emotional closeness and make sure that way is not just through complaints? again, I want to say this is a big life shift, and complaining is a natural, normal thing. But on the level your husband is doing it now, it's not making anybody's life better right now. It really isn't.
And girlfriend, it is not normal. That's not normal. That's not normal behavior. So, is therapy something you guys should consider? Absolutely. But I also think you need to be super direct. You need to tell him, hey, when you complain about stubbing your toe and I'm not running to put a bag of ice on it, like you're putting pressure on me, because that's the kind of attention that perhaps you want to reserve for the child and not for him, because he knows where the ice is.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd also just, letter writer, I would encourage you to maybe not apologize so much. It sounds like you're doing a lot of, oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can we do this? Maybe instead of saying I'm sorry, because I have such an issue with people apologizing more than they need to. There are some people in this world who need to apologize a lot more. And there are some people like you, letter writer, who are maybe apologizing more than you need to. So I might encourage you to instead say, that sounds so frustrating, or are you okay? Ask a question or express some empathy, but not apologize. These aren't things you need to apologize for. You can show empathy without saying you're sorry. I just think that sets up a bad pattern where when you say I'm sorry, you're admitting that you did something wrong, and you didn't do anything wrong. Your husband chose not to take his medicine and now he's sick. Your husband stubbed his toe, which sometimes just happens in life. People stub their toes. It's not something for you to say I'm sorry about. It's just something to say, oh, that sucks. Oh, that's frustrating. Are you okay? And I got you, baby. Later on tonight, I'll give you a cuddle, or, whatever it is. You don't need it to be all that.
Maybe after he stubs his toe, you can boop him on the nose.
But letter writer, you've got this. We know it's frustrating, but we know that you can figure this out. It's part of a bigger conversation. At least that's what Lucy and I think. Lucy and I think there's more going on here than just he's complaining. We think that this is a bigger family dynamic situation. And it's something that, you'll adjust for, and maybe you'll adjust for again and again and again, because that's how families work. As we grow, as our kids grow and so on, we sometimes have to adjust our marriages over and over and over again.
And you said in the beginning, he's loving, he's caring, all those wonderful things that every partner should be. Do not start faking it now, because somebody who loves you and cares for you that deeply, you shouldn't be like faking with them. Be honest, be truthful. Those are important things that are necessary to not just between you and your partner, but that are important to your new family.
Yeah. Yeah. And it will be modeling great behavior for your child as well. They want to see a mommy that's not faking it, but one that's fully there. Okay. So our next question is titled, I certainly can't ask my wife for advice.
I need advice on how to respond or carry on working with someone who said something appalling to me. I was recently chatting with colleagues at work, and the topic of weddings came up. Me and another person showed two colleagues some photos of our weddings. One colleague, Aaron, stared at the photos of me and my wife, we're both women, and said, "Wow, you invested well, didn't you?" I asked what he meant, and he laughed and said, "Well, I've seen what she looks like now, and I mean, you're a really hot couple now, aren't you?" For context, my wife used to be a lot heavier and had quite bad skin due to a then undiagnosed health condition. In the last 2 years, she got a diagnosis and treatment, lost a lot of weight, and her skin has cleared up. I have found her gorgeous at every point in our knowing each other, and I'm very happy she's been able to access treatment and her skin no longer hurts her. I was honestly gobsmacked by what Aaron said, as was the other woman with us. But the other man we were sat with just laughed about it and agreed that things had worked out well for me before changing the topic. I was so taken aback that I just stood up and left in the middle of the conversation, feeling certain I'd misunderstood something. I've since had an apology from the other man, saying he felt awkward and didn't know what else to say when Aaron was out of line. And the other woman says she's not going to speak to them again outside of sticking to work issues only. But I don't know what to say to Aaron now. I am so angry and disgusted, and also furious with myself for not responding better in the moment, other than going quiet and leaving. Aaron and I were very friendly before this, and he still seems to think that I want to get lunch with him at work. I've briskly turned him down, but don't know what more to say. I'm so upset and angry. I feel like my wife was grossly dehumanized by these comments and am no longer comfortable with Aaron in the workplace. nor the other guy, but I don't have to work with him so closely. Can you advise on how I approach this?
I read this letter and my entire body just tensed up. I started sweating because I can feel the, like the secondhand embarrassment, and I can feel the pain, all of it. And then the fact that our letter writer, like the context and explaining to us what their wife and had gone through in the past, like, oh my gosh. And then you have some doofus, sorry, just say what he wants to say, free reign. Almost like if somebody unmuted him on his Facebook page. That's how it felt. I mean, you could really address it directly with Aaron. Calmly, but firmly address this with Aaron and let him know how hurtful that comment was. I think you need, like our previous letter writers, some people just don't know. They just don't know what they're saying. Like, I really believe that. And if they do, let them know that that what they said was rude. I always feel like that. You need to set boundaries. You need to make it clear that what you expect going forward is like, listen, I'm happy to work with you professionally, but comments like that are not okay. And I need you to respect my boundaries and, more importantly, my family. Because the fact that you were in that position of vulnerability of sharing your family, there's nothing more personal than sharing a family photo. Like you're letting that person into your life, and for that person to make fun of it, you need to let them know that they overstepped their boundaries. I really feel like you need to do that. And if Aaron happens to be apologetic and he's willing to learn from this, it might help to reestablish your professional relationship with him, but more importantly, a distant relationship with him. Almost like Abuela used to say, like, a un brazo, at arm's length. Stay away from me from it at arm's length. Now, if he laughs it off, or says that you're like overreacting, then clearly you know what's up with Aaron. And the next step after that, if the direct approach doesn't work, girl, walk it to HR. Even though we live in a snitches get stitches kind of society, you should walk it to HR. Give them a heads up in case. Like, let them know what happened. Let them know we were sharing photos. This guy said this. The other guy said this. Now we're in this awkward situation. Now he's asking me to lunch. And I'm like, no, I want you to know what happened. Maybe not even file a complaint. Just give HR like a heads up of what happened. That way, if this escalates, because it might, you're covered. But my first thing, like the first thing that came to mind was like, just walk over to Aaron's desk. Be like, hey, you want to come into the office kitchen or over by the water cooler? I need to talk to you about something. Let them know what's up. I mean, I really feel like you just have to be direct, calm, very firm. Hey, I opened up my life to you by sharing my wedding photo with you. You said some things about my wife that were clearly disrespectful and not cool. Don't ever do that again.
Yeah. And I think, first of all, yes, I agree with everything you're saying, Lucy. And I know that confrontation can feel really uncomfortable.
Terrible.
It can feel awful. And I like what you're saying about, just be direct, keep it brief. And there are a few different ways to do that. You can just grab them at their desk and say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute in this conference room? If it's easier, you can do it when you both have an out. For example, maybe on a Friday, you're both walking to the parking lot and you can say, hey, can I walk to your car with you? And then that way you can get it off your chest and each get in your cars and drive in separate directions and think on it over the weekend. There are different ways to do it. And, everything Lucy's saying, I think is totally true. Keep it to I statements. Like, I felt this way. I'm sorry I didn't bring this up in the moment it happened. I was shocked. You and I have always had such a fun collegial relationship at work. I've never heard you say anything like that before. Keep it to I statements. And then very briefly explain what the upsetting stuff was to you. I would urge you not to go into lots and lots of detail or turn it into a 10-minute explainer. Keep it as brief as you can. What you said was very dehumanizing. My wife is not an object or an investment to me. And while her appearance has changed over the years due to some health issues, I don't think it makes her a better or more beautiful partner that her appearance has changed. And I really felt hurt by what you said. And then give him space to apologize. Give him space to maybe explain himself. He might not have an explanation. His explanation might just be like, that was a stupid thing for me to say. Or it might be, I thought I was giving a compliment and I clearly don't know what I'm talking about, because I think, and I don't want to take sides with him. I'm not taking sides with him here, but I do think there are certain people out there who would take what he said as like, oh yeah, he's just complimenting your wife. And I don't think that's an excuse. I'm just saying that might be his explanation for you. That might be his reasoning in his head.
And please be ready for that. Be ready for that reaction. I'm so happy you brought up that case, because that could most definitely be the response to you approaching him and telling him how you feel. Be ready for that. And then, my friend, that is exactly what kind of person he is. And as my tia once told me over an argument at Christmas dinner, charge that shit to the game.
And what do you mean by that?
Sometimes life is a credit card. You got to charge it to, this is just someone who is in your life to, either teach you a lesson or to show you a side of them that they would only feel comfortable showing you. This is who they are. Charge it to the game. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. And understand that this person will only be your professional, just your coworker. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what will happen here. It may be the case that after this talk, your coworker really is just so full of remorse and regrets and will be eager to make things right in any way he can. And maybe you will eventually be able to forgive him and maybe, in some sense, go back to being what you were before all of this. Maybe you won't be, and maybe your goal at the end of the day is just to be able to be collegial with him, to be able to be civil with him at work. It's okay, whatever that goal is, either way, to be friends again or to just be able to work together, either one is fine. But if it does get eventually, too problematic, I'm going to second Lucy and say it might be something to bring to HR.
Absolutely. Walk it over with a big old smile on your face and be like, so-and-so was a witness, so-and-so was next to me, blah, 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 blase, throw everybody under the bus. Sorry, sometimes you got to protect your spirit at work too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. You're listening to Dear Prudence, and we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be reading more of your letters. Stay with us.
It feels like you can get your credit scores anywhere these days. Random websites, card statements, budgeting apps, heck, even your dog might bark out a few numbers. It's true. Credit Karma isn't the only place you can find them. But we actually do more with your scores to help you find your next financial opportunity. Like a more rewarding credit card, a game plan that helps you pay down debt faster, or a personal loan to help you save more on interest payments each month. Cha-ching! The possibilities are kinda endless. Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
ABC Wednesdays.
Y'all complain all day. We want books. We want paper towels in the classroom. Bet you want raises too.
I'm still waiting on the paper towels.
Abbott Elementary returns with the new season.
We asked the district for more after-school programs. They gave us $50 for class pets instead.
Critics cheer. Abbott Elementary continues to be one of the funniest and most beloved shows on TV.
What y'all doing out there?
Taking bribes.
Proud of y'all.
Abbott Elementary, Wednesdays, 9:30, 8:30 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Welcome back to Dear Prudence. I'm Kristen Meinzer, sitting in for Jenée, and I am here with the fabulous Lucy Lopez from Care and Feeding, answering your letters. Our next one is titled, Temper Tantrum Successful?
Recently, I was in the running for a promotion at my current employer that I've been with for a couple of years. The kind of status that the promotion would entail was very important to me, and I was thrilled to be in the running with only a few years under my belt at the company. The selection process was surprisingly stressful, but I ended up being chosen for the position. Prudie, I am aghast at how I acted in the run-up to that hiring, even while at the workplace. I was snippy, moody, overly critical, withdrew, and even stated, not to the hirers, thankfully, that I was willing to quit altogether if I wasn't selected. I've had some additional stressors in my life recently, thanks to some family drama and volunteer stress, but honestly, I don't feel like that's enough of an excuse. My previous position was just fine, and it wouldn't have been a calamity had I not been promoted. I feel like I have some amends to make or some relationships to repair, but no one has mentioned anything, and I don't necessarily want to draw attention to the way I had acted before. Do I bring it up?
Ooh, a nail biter.
Yes. Such a nail biter.
So good.
Boy.
Oh my gosh, there's so many opinions on this. You should go first.
All right. So, first of all, letter writer, we all behave badly sometimes. And a lot of us, when we behave badly, do not take responsibility for that behavior. So, first and foremost, thank you for owning up to it and knowing that you were not being your best self. You also say there are specific relationships you need to repair. And if you need to repair those relationships, you need to repair them. Don't pretend none of this happened. Start with those people. That's my advice. Talk with them one-on-one and very sincerely say, I think I got too caught up in the competition of trying to land this promotion. And I want to sincerely apologize because I know I wasn't always my best self. That wasn't okay. I want you to know how sorry I am. Going forward, I am committed to being the best version of myself. I am going to aim to be fair and understanding, and I'm also going to be very open to criticism. So please know that I'm taking accountability right now, and I want to be the best I can in this new role. Because, yeah, if you were hurting people one-on-one, acknowledge that. Just so many people, as I already said in this episode, so many people apologize too much, and so many people don't apologize who should. You should apologize. Say you're sorry. Own up to it. And I also think it's great that you're saying, letter writer, that even though these other stressors were going on in your life, that those stressors aren't an excuse. They really aren't. And I would just maybe encourage you not to even bring up those things at all. Don't bring up your volunteer gig. Your volunteer gig is not an excuse to be mean to people at work, snippy, standoffish, all the other things on your long list of things that you were. Don't bring up those other things at all. Just own up to it. I'd also consider thinking about how, not that I want to look at politicians as role models, but this is something that I think about sometimes. In the lead up to an election, sometimes people who have to work together later on in the lead up get a little bit vicious during the campaign season.
A little?
Not going to name any names here. Not going to name names. But, in the primaries, for example, a certain political party might have lots of people fighting tooth and nail to get the nomination, and then the primary's done, and that person who got the nomination has to hire a bunch of people from this party to work with them. And they have to be diplomatic. They have to explain themselves. They have to own up to the fact that primary season is over and now it's time for us to work as a team. And they should own up to it if they were not being the best version of themselves either. That's how I take it. That's what a good politician can and should do, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying all politicians should be role models. A lot of them are garbage and should not be looked to for how to live our best lives. But these are my initial thoughts on this. Lucy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, just like Kristen said, the fact that you're acknowledging that you were a pill, congrats. Because it takes a lot to admit, like, hey, maybe I wasn't such a great person. So good on you for doing that. And, a subtle acknowledgement of it to the ones that you were completely a D word to is good. Like, you could say something like, the promotion process was really intense. I know I was a little on edge. I appreciate your patience. Going back to the like, I appreciate your patience. That was a very difficult moment for me. It was all new, yada, yada. Also, it goes without saying that actions speak louder than words. And it's time for you to focus on how to move forward now through positive interactions. And the only way you're going to get to those positive interactions, my friend, is by having private conversations with those people that you overstepped and you were a little mean girl to, or mean boy, whatever. nobody likes a Regina George in the office, and you don't want to be known as the Regina George of the office. You want to be known as the one in the office who gets work done in a positive and pleasing manner, you know? So I think if you move in that direction, you've already acknowledged to us. Now it's time to acknowledge it with them, make those private conversations happen. And Kristen, if I may, I'm going to use your piece of advice. There's nothing like apologizing on a Friday. Everybody comes back Monday, forgotten, refreshed, maybe hungover. All is good.
Yes. And I want to just piggyback on what you said about action speaking louder than words. Now more than ever is the time to be a listener, to be a team player, to be willing to do things that are not glamorous despite your promotion, to take accountability for things. I mean, one of the things you probably know, letter writer, with a promotion, it's not just the status that you were so hungry for that you get with a promotion. You also get to take the blame when things go badly. So don't skirt the blame when things go badly. You're going to show what a great leader you are by taking the blame when things suck. When your department does not achieve their KPIs, when your department screws up, it is going to be your job to be a real leader, and that means you're going to encourage and cheer and give credit to your team and take the fall when things don't go well. It's not just status that a promotion's about. It's about sometimes doing those tough things. And it's also sometimes, unfortunately, a job where you're not going to have friends all the time. As much as you try to be friendly, be collegial, create a team environment, there are going to be times where your team is going to go out for drinks without you, and you're not going to be invited now because you're promoted to a different position. Sometimes they're going to need to vent about you behind your back, and that's within their rights. They can do that.
And also, that's okay. And it's going to take a minute for you to get used to that. And also, if this happens to be your first, leadership role, I highly encourage, some self-help books about learning how to check yourself at the door, understanding what it takes to be a strong and effective leader. And, education is key, for your self-awareness, and check on yourself every once in a while, because I don't think mental health is just, when people think about mental health, it's like, oh, they're sad, they're depressed. No, mental health also comes up in different ways. Check yourself too, because that could be affecting how you take on this leadership role.
Yeah. And then maybe also check either with your HR department or with your own supervisor and ask if there's any professional development courses that they can enroll you in. There may be some video courses you can just, on the weekends, have a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning and sit in some video courses or online courses so that you can do better going forward. So you can be the best version of this new job as this new leader. You want to do your best and show it by trying to educate yourself, trying to lead and build teamwork, and also just not ever falling back on that bad behavior you did before, but get better and better every day.
Yeah, we want you to be the kind of leader a little bit in between Taylor Swift and the Wolf of Wall Street. Just a little bit of each, the best way possible.
Cheer, cheer, cheer. Yay. Yay. Get stuff done.
Yes. Exactly. Everybody likes you.
All of that.
Might be a little scared of you, but you get it done.
All right. So our final letter of the day is entitled, Can't Let Go.
I got dumped by the man I thought I was going to marry 3 months ago. It was out of the blue. We were in love and happy, I thought, but he ended it after realizing he had a, quote, gut feeling I wasn't the one. No fights, no disagreements in values or desires. He said he had, quote, nothing bad to say about me or our relationship, and that I was the most incredible person he knew, but still, it was over. I went no contact for 6 weeks to process, during which time my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Yes, I know, it's a lot. And approached him thereafter for clarity and closure, at which time he said there were, quote, tiny, immutable aspects of my personality that led him to conclude we were incompatible. Problem is, he refused to tell me what they were, stating it was better for my feelings, or that he didn't want me to hate him. He admitted he never raised them during our relationship because he, quote, didn't want to nitpick. They were that small. Since then, I've been obsessing over what those characteristics might be, and it's taking valuable time and energy away from my healing and my mom. I know the problem lies with him for not raising them at the time because I'm not a mind reader. I know I should acknowledge him thinking he knows what's best for me over my own objections is a sign of disrespect. I know it's over and I need to move on, but I just simply can't, and I think it's driving my therapist insane. Any tips?
Oh my gosh, I have so much to say. So much
So
to
do
say.
I. So do I. But Lucy, why don't you start?
Oh my gosh. No, because sometimes I feel like my advice is a little too harsh, and I'm like judging myself on what advice I want to give this person. But immediately comes to mind, only listen to Beyonce records and, all of Chaperone, like all of that. And if you have some time, like pop in a Selena Quintanilla album and just listen to that on repeat. Just to get it all out, right? And then the other side of me is like, I think you need to allow yourself to grieve the loss, which is what I think is happening here. Because his issues have nothing to do with you, okay? He made a choice based on like his own gut feelings, but that should not diminish how valuable you are. There's nothing wrong with you. And there's also nothing wrong with you wanting closure. And I feel it comes across like you haven't fully grieved this relationship because of the situation with your mom, right? When you have a parent that's sick and all of a sudden you become their caretaker, even though your parent may be in the most healthy moment of the sickness, there's some grieving that comes along with it. Take it from me. So for me, it's like she hasn't grieved the relationship, right? So now she's like in that bargaining phase of grief where you're like, oh, maybe I should have done this. Or what does he mean by this? Do I want to book this man that you were with a one-way ticket to F-Boy Island? Yes, I do. Absolutely. But that's paying him too much attention. And the only person who should go on that island vacation is you. You need to separate his issues from your worth, okay? There's nothing wrong with wanting closure, but and I understand like his refusal to engage and be honest is not a reflection of something being wrong with you. There's something wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with you. The fact that he can't sit down and have an adult, mature conversation and answer some of your questions, knowing what you are going through personal, says a lot about his ass.
All right, I'm going to say something that maybe a little bit tough love here. You got closure, honey. I know this breakup sucks. I know it hurts to be dumped. I know how painful it is. I've been through plenty of breakups. But you got closure. He gave it to you. He told you in his gut, you're not the one. And you don't like that answer.
Oh, girl.
As Lucy said, you are in this bargaining stage because you won't accept the closure he gave you. He gave you the answer. You are not the one. And you are nitpicking now to find out what does not the one mean. And the reason he can't give you an answer is because it's a gut feeling. And he's just trying to like figure out how to tell you that in so many different ways because you won't accept him telling you you're not the one. And I know that hurts.
Yes, it hurt me.
Yes, but it's true. You're not the one. And that's okay that you're not the one. And any of these things that might be, quote, personality flaws or issues with you are not flaws. They're just his preference. For example, I have been told by certain exes, for example, that maybe I am a little too jolly. They don't like that I'm upbeat and refuse to give in to too much negativity. But you know what? There are plenty of other people who like that in me. Is it a problem that those people were pointing out that they didn't like my jolliness? No, that was a preference, okay? That doesn't mean something's wrong with me. That was that ex's preference. That ex prefers to be with somebody who is miserable all the time and sits at home and gets drunk and whines, okay? I'm not the girl for them. That's a different preference. And it may be the case, letter writer, that maybe you're very type A and your ex doesn't like type A people. Maybe your ex doesn't like organized people. Maybe that's too much for your ex. That is a preference. That's not a personality flaw in you. Maybe your ex just wasn't into you so that everything you were doing became irritating to him. Very minor things that aren't problems at all, like how you brush your teeth or how you put on your socks in the morning. Maybe that was getting on his nerves, not because those are flaws, but again, because he already was out. Okay? And I know it's painful to hear this, but that is closure. He told you, to quote that terrible show, Sex and the City, he's just not that into you. You're not the one.
Oh my gosh, girl, I knew you were going to say that.
I know. And and I know it sucks to hear, but you know what? You're somebody else's cup of tea. And when I say somebody else, there are thousands of people all over the world right now who are sitting alone dreaming of meeting somebody just like you with all of those qualities and personality traits that your ex didn't appreciate. Okay? There are other people who want to love you, who you are going to love back. And again, I know it sucks, but you did get the closure. You just don't like the closure. Accept the closure. He didn't feel it for you. In his gut, you're not the one.
But I just feel, and I hear what you're saying. I understand it, and I believe it with all my guts. All my guts. But don't you think that the fact that, quote, it was tiny, immutable aspects of my personality that led him to conclude we were incompatible. Like, the F does that even mean? Like, why can't you just tell me, like, what is it? Am I judgmental? Am I this? Am I that? Like, what is it? Like, can't he just tell her? And you're saying, no, he did by saying that? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying you are poking, and now it just sounds like he's making up crap. Well, there were little things here and there. Oh, well, I can't put my finger on it. Oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings by saying it. And what it comes down to is there may have been a lot of things that got on his nerves because he just didn't want to be with you anymore. And I know that hurts to hear.
Oh my God, Kristen, you just turned into Maleficent.
I'm sorry. But I will say as somebody who's been the dumper before, that has been the case with certain exes where it's like, there was nothing wrong with them. I just wasn't in it. My heart wasn't in it anymore. And there were a million things I could point to and say, oh, you did this, and this was irritating. But what it comes down to at the real heart of it was, I just wasn't that into them. I didn't feel they were the one. And that in and of itself is enough.
It is.
If somebody doesn't want to be with you anymore, that is enough. Them telling you you're not their match is enough. Don't waste one more second of your life thinking about somebody who doesn't think you are the bee's knees. You are worth way more than this sadness that you are experiencing all the time. You are worth being excited over. You are worth having somebody be wild about. You're not worth somebody who doesn't think you're the one. Don't waste your time on someone who doesn't think you're the one. Don't waste your emotional energy on someone who doesn't think you're the one. Don't waste another minute asking questions.
It's so hard though. And I understand. And by the way, totally get it. If what you're listening to right now is like easier said than done attitude, but she's so right. As much as I'm like, no, don't say all that. She's right. She's right. There's somebody out there who will like slip the glass slipper on your foot and you're going to run off and have like the best time ever. And, you know, it's going to feel like Taco Tuesday every day.
Yeah. And I'm so sorry. I think that there's some sort of mythology in our world that closure is the most important thing. And I think that sometimes that mythology is wrong because sometimes we have the closure already. We just don't want to accept it. And then we say this person's an asshole because he won't give me closure. But he gave it to you. He did give it to you.
He did, but I'm still booking him a one-way ticket to F-Boy Island. Is that okay?
Oh,
Kristen?
Yeah, he can definitely go there. Great. He can. Yeah. Let him go there and letter writer, let yourself feel greater joy and be with somebody who's excited about you, not somebody who doesn't see you as less than the one. Okay? You got this. We love you. We believe in you.
Yes,
you're going to be okay.
You're going to be fine. You really are.
All right. Those are all the questions we have for this week. And oh my gosh, Lucy, this has been so much fun. Can you tell listeners where they can get more of you?
Yes. You can check me out on my other podcast, The Mamacita Rica. It's me and my best friend, Leslie. And we just live very different lives, but in the same city of Miami. So our views on Miami are completely different and fun and wild. And also, of course, you can catch me on Karen Feeding the podcast right here on Slate. It's fantastic. It's a fun, very different parenting podcast with very different opinions. Like I said before, if you're a parent who's white knuckling through parenthood, this is the podcast for you.
Yeah. And new episodes of Care and Feeding come out Mondays and Thursdays. So there is lots of great Lucy time on those. So everyone should check those out. And if you want to hear more of me, I have my podcast, By the Book. I also have my podcast, How to Be Fine. And I have a podcast as well called The Daily Fail, where I do comedic close readings of the tabloids, which are all garbage. And we laugh a lot about that. Listeners, do you need help getting along with partners, relatives, coworkers, and people in general? Write to Prudie. Go to slate.com/Prudie. That's slate.com/Prudie. Dear Prudence column publishes every Thursday. Dear Prudence is produced by Se'era Spragley Ricks and Jenée Desmond-Harris, with production help and extra thanks to Maura Currie, Cameron Drews, and Anuli Ononye. Editorial help from Paola De Verona. Daisy Rosario is senior supervising producer, and Alicia Montgomery is Slate's VP of audio. And I'm your guest, Prudence Kristen Meinzer. That's all for this episode, but join us on today's episode of Prudie Plus, where Lucy and I answer a question from a woman who feels like voting is not enough. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts by clicking Try Free at the top of your show page, or visit slate.com/Prudie Plus to get access wherever you listen. The episode is available for you to listen to right now. We'll see you there.
I said to Roger, the last thing you are fair and balanced. That should have been my slogan.
When the Fox News Channel first went on the air, it promised to change television.
Few broadcasts take any chances these days, and most are very politically correct. Well, we're going to be different.
It's going to be kick-ass, and I want to be part of it.
I'm Josh Levine. In this season of Slow Burn, we'll look at the moment in the early 2000s when Fox News became a political and cultural force.
I'm okay with wearing an American flag. And if you're not, I think you need to examine who you are.
You'll hear from Fox insiders, many who've never spoken out before.
I was not told about that beforehand, for good reason. I wouldn't have gone along with it.
And you'll hear from the activists and comedians who tried to stop it.
He said, "You're being sued by Fox." I went, "Really? That's fabulous."
Slow Burn Season 10, The Rise of Fox News. Hear the entire season now, wherever you listen.